Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 14.5 Beta 1 again. It's iOS 14.5 Beta 1 re-release since they didn't release Beta 2. And as you can see, it came in at a very small 122.7 megabytes on my iPhone 12 Pro Max, and it was as small as 80 megabytes on the iPhone 6s Plus. I also have it on the iPhone 11 and iPad Pro 12.9 from 2020, as Apple also released iPadOS 14.5 Beta 1 re-release also. So they didn't release anything else as far as re-releasing them, and I suspect this is why we haven't seen the public beta so far. Many people have been asking, where is public beta 1? And they didn't release it. Hopefully they'll release it as soon as today by the time you're watching this video, or early next week. But right now we don't know. Apple hasn't said, but that's probably why we haven't seen it, since they re-released this and found some bugs. So there are some fixes in this one. Now the first thing is the build number. So we'll take a look at that. We'll go to Settings, General, then About. And as you can see, the build number is 18E5140K. It's just a letter or so off from the previous one, and it's a slight update for performance and bug fixes. There are some bug fixes in this. Now, the first thing there is not is a modem update. So if you had Beta 1 before, there's no update, at least on my 12 Pro Max, going from Beta 1 to Beta 1 re-release. There's no difference there. Now, as far as new features, well, there are a bunch of features I didn't mention in my initial video of what's new, and so I wanted to cover them here because there's a lot of them that people found over the last few days or so. And the first thing has to do with weather. In fact, we've had weather updates with precipitation updates in the United States for some time, but now we have it in the UK. So here's a screenshot of it, and you can see hour-to-hour precipitation where it tells you what to expect as far as the weather goes. And so that's what it looks like, and that's in the United Kingdom. It may be in other locations. Apple hasn't specified, but so far the people that were messaging me with these screenshots, it's just in the UK so far. Now, the next thing has to do with cellular. If you're on T-Mobile specifically, so Apple did enable 5G dual SIM support, but if you're on T-Mobile, you get an extra setting. So if we go into Settings, and then we go to Cellular, under Cellular Data Options, you can see we have Voice and Data 5G Auto. But if you have T-Mobile, you'll have 5G Standalone. It says 5G Standalone uses 5G for all cellular activity, including cellular network connections. And since I have this on T-Mobile, you turn it on and it says connection quality and coverage for voice and data may be less reliable when using 5G Standalone. That's because 5G is still rolling out all over the place. So if you turn it on, it will work. I prefer to have it on auto, since if it's not a strong signal, it will drop back to 4G LTE, but it's something they've updated in this one. Now, another thing they've updated has to do with notifications. They've given more options. So if we go into Settings, Notifications, scroll all the way to the bottom. At the bottom, we have three options for Amber Alerts, Emergency Alerts, and Public Safety Alerts. We also have the option for Emergency Alerts and Always Deliver in the settings. So they've added the additional setting where you have Emergency Alerts and Always Deliver. So that's something new that I think is nice, that is definitely helpful if you want those on. I always leave them on just to know what's going on and to help if I can. Now, under Music, there's some updates as well. And so if we go into Music and then we go to Library and then tap on Edit, there's a new Made for You option. Now, I have this turned on and it's not showing up for me, but it should show up here under Library and say Made for You. Right now it's not showing, but it's a new option that should have some suggestions or curated songs for me. So hopefully we'll see that in the future, and it's something they've updated. Now, also, they give you the exact album release day as well. So they give that to you in detail. So if you go to search, find an album, go into the album and scroll to the bottom, you can see the exact day it was released. This one was October 26, 2018. It says 5 songs, 21 minutes, and who released it. So that's some new options as well. Also, they've updated this again for the lock screen. So if I play a song here, now I have a song playing, and if I go home and then go to the lock screen, you'll see in just a moment it will start to scroll the album name and the song name again. So that's something we haven't had for iOS 14. They've brought it back, and I'm glad to see it's there. So they've brought that back. That scroll is really nice to see. Sometimes it was annoying when you couldn't see it. Now, the next thing has to do with news. So if I go into the News app, I'll bring in iOS 14.4. You can see at the bottom, there's a new search button. So we have search here, and you've got different channel topics and things. And then under News Plus, the menu at the top is a little bit different. There's a new For You section, for example. And so they've updated this as well, depending on if you have News Plus, what you're reading, and things like that. So that's been updated as well. Now, as far as maps, they've changed something as well. So let's go into Maps. Now within Maps, they've updated this as well. So if we scroll down under the search bar, you can see I have editor's picks for different collections. If I go over to iOS 14.4, you can see it's not there. So there's nothing here, and it's just a new little update there. Then also, if you have directions, they've changed the way it looks a little bit if you were to hit end. So on the left with iOS 14.4, we just hit end, but on the right with 14.5 beta 1, we have to tap on the arrow, then hit end. And then we'll be brought back to the main screen. And so they've updated that a little bit as well. Now in Maps, they've updated the guides as well. Now I mentioned some of the changes already, but if you go into a guide, say in the city of Charleston, slide up, tap on the guide, and then slide the guide up, you can see the visual is really nice now. So they've made that change, added more information about different locations, and they continue to update this with more info and just make it look a little bit better. Now, if we go home, they've made a change in the clock app. So if we go into clock and then you use the sleep/wake up settings, go to change, we now have the option to edit sleep schedule in health. So if we tap on this, it brings us over to health. We can edit our schedule, which you can see this varies for me, but that's about right. And so you can see the schedule there. So you have the option to edit it right from the clock or clock alarm part of the app. Now, the next thing is they've updated the icons for Bluetooth for different things such as Beats. So if we go into Twitter, my friend Steve Mosier found this, and you can see the different icons here. So if I scroll in, you can see there's different ones for Beats headphones and AirPods, AirPods Pro. Those have been updated as well. Now, I already mentioned in the first video, when you're using your phone and you're wearing a mask, how you can more easily unlock it using Face ID and an Apple Watch together. So it sort of does a double authentication. But there's also sort of a reverse feature they've added. So if you have your Apple Watch on your wrist, you remove it, and then it goes into a lock because it knows it's been removed. We'll put it back. You'll see it's back on my wrist. It's going to ask for the passcode. If we go to my phone, lock it, unlock it, it will unlock my Apple Watch. If I bring it up here, it should unlock it, and it lets me know Aaron's Apple Watch unlocked. So it lets me know that it's unlocked my Apple Watch since I have that setting active. And so in the Watch app, you have to have that activated under passcode and unlock with iPhone. As long as that's activated and you have watchOS 7.4 beta installed, that should work. Now, also in the Watch app, if you go to the face gallery and then you scroll down, there's some new updates to the Explorer watch faces. So these have been updated a little bit as well. So Explorer, there's a few new ones in there. Also Hermes, if you have an Hermes watch face or an Hermes watch, you'll have those options, and there's some changes to those as well. Now, there's some updates that you can't physically see that have been mentioned in the code, such as new wallpaper, for example. I know a lot of people like that. So far, there's nothing new if you go into the wallpaper, but there's mentions of it in the code. So, for example, if I go to stills, there's nothing new yet, but there should be hopefully in the future at some point. So hopefully we'll see some updated wallpaper, maybe for a different phone, maybe an iPhone SE 3 or something like that, but there's at least mentions of it in the code for wallpaper. Now, also, there's some additional mentions for things Siri can do, maybe in the future, such as modify contact entries, as well as tell you about traffic conditions when you're in the car, and also possible Siri commands that could be implemented in the future for things like that. So hopefully we'll see some of those. There's also some new sounds for locating Beats in the Find My app. They've also made it easier to set up an iPad with cellular connections. I don't have a cellular iPad available to try that. And then also German Giro cards may now be able to be added to the Wallet app using Apple Pay. So those are something that you may be able to do now. I don't have an ability to check. Now, there are some other things as far as the mentions of U1 chip pairing for cars. So maybe we'll be able to use the U1 chip to pair with a car key, with Apple Car Key in the future, and a bunch of small changes in the background for things like edutainment plugins, for example. Now, there's some bugs in this particular version as well. Now, I didn't experience too many over the past few days using it, but there's a few things that I can show you. The first one has to do with MagSafe. If you have a MagSafe adapter, you turn the screen off, plug it in, you no longer get the animation with the little ring that comes around. So where you might have had that before, that doesn't show up anymore. So for example, if I bring over iOS 14.4, put that on the back with MagSafe, you'll see that animation. That does not show up, it seems, in iOS 14.5 beta 1. I can't get it to show up. So I've tried quite a few times. It just won't show for me. Also, the green tint issue is still there. Thanks to my friend Jury on Twitter, he confirmed the green tint issue has not been fixed. Now, also, some apps are still not working, such as the PlayStation app. I can't get it to open. It just crashes every time. However, Apple has fixed the ability for Microsoft apps to work. So if you're using Teams, for example, that should launch now. That's been confirmed by multiple people online, and it seems like the Microsoft apps are functioning again if you're using this beta. So that's good news. I also had an issue with my Tesla using the key with the phone. It seems to just started magically working again today, but it wasn't working yesterday. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. Hopefully that's resolved. It will take a few days to know that for sure. Now, as far as battery life, I know a lot of people are wondering how is 14.5 in its early beta, and I can show you the past few days since Monday, since I've been running it on my 12 Pro Max as my main phone. There's battery health at 100% on my 12 Pro Max, and yesterday, well, we'll go 2 days ago, I had 3 hours and 21 minutes of screen on time, 4 hours and 10 minutes of screen off time, and used about 30% of my battery. So if we're timesing that by 3, I'm getting the 9 or 10 hours of screen on time I would expect with the 12 Pro Max. And if you have an 11 Pro Max, you may get up to 12 like you would expect. It depends on day to day. You'll see yesterday was only 2 hours and 14 minutes, but I didn't use my phone that much. And this just was when I went to bed. I had used less than 50% of the battery. So it just varies day to day. Now with the iPad, my iPad Pro, battery life has been about what you would expect with iOS 14.5 Beta 1. It's been pretty good. It's what I would expect anyway. So if we go to battery life, the last 10 days, you'll see it was charged 100% this morning at 9:53 a.m. And I used it for almost 2 hours, an hour and 51 minutes, and then an hour and 9 minutes of screen off time. And I've used about a quarter of the battery. That's not phenomenal, but it's better than it was with 14.4 and 14.3 for me. So this seems to be an improvement also in standby as well. There's nothing new on the iPad other than what I mentioned in the initial video though, and what I've mentioned in this video. So nothing new there. As far as performance though, performance has been good except one thing, that stutter or lag has returned when I close an app. So if I swipe out of an app and swipe up, that was a problem in the first beta. It took a few days to show up. Now with this beta, it's gone. But again, it could show up in a few days where you close it and it sort of stutters when you close it like that, and then it finally closes. I saw that with multiple apps, and hopefully it doesn't return, but I'll continue reporting it in the feedback app and make sure you do as well. Or feedback's over here rather, that's podcast. So report it in feedback and make sure you do as well. Now, as far as the benchmarks, let's go ahead and take a look at those. So on my iPhone 12 Pro Max, it scored 1,598 for single core, 4,111 for multi-core. If we take a look at the history, you can see a few days ago, it scored about the same or the exact same for single core and a little bit lower today for multi-core. But again, I ran this right after installing it. I didn't give it any time, so it could improve a little, but that's close enough where I wouldn't think it's a problem. Let me show you the other phone so you could get a general idea of what it should be for you as well. From left to right, I have the iPad Pro 12.9 from 2020, the iPhone 6s Plus, the iPhone 11, and the iPhone 12 Pro Max. So if your numbers are anywhere in these sort of same vicinity running Geekbench 5, then you should be good to go. And generally these will improve a little bit as time goes on and all of the background processes have completed. And so as far as should you install iOS 14.5 Beta 1 re-release, well, if you haven't installed it already and you're already on the first beta, absolutely, you've probably already installed it. But if you haven't already and you're maybe waiting for the public beta, just wait for that. Hopefully it will be out by the time you're watching this video, or maybe in a few days at the latest. But other than that, if you're on the public version of iOS 14.5, I would hold off unless you know what you're getting into with a beta and understand reporting feedback and know how to roll back if you have problems, as the early versions of these generally have more problems than they do as they get a little bit more close to a public release. So if you're on iOS 14.4 and you want to try out, say, the Face ID unlock using the Apple Watch on watchOS 7.4 Beta 1, and you know how to revert back with the iPhone using a Mac or Windows with iTunes or the Finder, then that's fine. Otherwise, just hold on. Hopefully we'll see a final release of iOS 14.5 in March. There is not a specific date, but hopefully we'll see that in March. And I would expect, since Apple stopped signing iOS 14.3, I would expect them to release iOS 14.4.1 or maybe even 14.5 at this point within a couple of weeks. Last time we only had 2 betas, so it's hard to say. But generally we'll have more than 2. We'll have about 5 betas or so than a public release. That means we could see an iOS 14.4.1 hopefully to fix that green tint issue very soon. When Apple stops unsigning a last update, meaning you can't go back, generally you have 2 weeks before you'll see an update, generally 1 to 2 weeks, and then you'll see that update. But let me know what you think about this update in the comments below. If you've found anything else, I'd love to hear from you there as well. If you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.